What is the most important bit of information that we need from the new D&D Monster Manual? It's not what the dragons look like now, or whether there are new kinds of vampires, or how they rearranged monster stat blocks. No, it's the beasts. What can we transform into as wild-shaped druids? You want to know what the best new options are? Good, because I'm here to tell you about them. Welcome to D4. Hey everybody, so here at D4 I usually spend my time doing deep dive videos on character creation. I like to get a little number crunchy and theory crafty, but today is a little different. So ever since the 2024 rules came out, I've been getting a ton of requests to do a Moon Druid build. But I mean, the most important thing to know if you're building a Moon Druid is what are the potential options for me to wild shape into, right? But I haven't known what all those options would be until the new Monster Manual came out, so I have been in a holding pattern. Fortunately, yes, a bunch of people, myself included, got an advanced copy of the new D&D 5e Monster Manual, so we can finally figure this out. But we were all prohibited from talking about it until today, outside of the little exclusive blurbs that a lucky few of us got permission to do a sneak peek on, like I did for the Empyrean a few weeks ago, if you missed that. But you also saw those kinds of videos from the Dungeon Dudes, Pack Tactics, Dungeon Dad, to name a few, right? Anyways, with the embargo officially lifted today on the Monster Manual, I really wanted to do a video on it, right? But I figured that a lot of people are probably going to kind of be doing like a more high-level overview or review, so I wanted to do something that's hopefully a little different. I want to know, now that we finally have access to them, which of all the beasts in the new Monster Manual are going to be the best options for druids to wild shape into, so that when I do my 2024 Moon Druid build, finally, we'll know what all of our best options are, right? So today, we are going to dive into each challenge rating of beast that druids will get access to, even the 1/4 and 1/2 options that non-moon druids will be limited to at first. This video is not going to just be useful for moon druids. And then yes, we will move into challenge rating 1 and go all the way up to challenge rating 6, which is the highest CR that moon druids will be able to reach when they hit level 18, right? I will be looking a lot at damage potential of the beasts, of course. I am me, after all. But I'll also include ones that might bring some unique utility or control along with their damage. You ready? Okay, let's get into D&D episode number 200. Holy crap, 200. How did that happen? And also, shouldn't this be a Bladesinger video? The best beasts for wild shape 2024. Hey everybody. You know, it's been a hot minute since I've had Magic Spoon as a sponsor for a video, and I'm super excited that they're sponsoring the video today because I really love their products, and I've actually got some new stuff of theirs to tell you about. Right, so I just got back from the gym, actually, if you can't tell, and today is a low-carb, high-protein day for me personally, so for lunch, that's going to mean that I get a little protein shake here and a little, call it a multi-classed bowl of cereal, cocoa and peanut butter, two of my favorites. So here's the deal with Magic Spoon cereal. First of all, I really like the way that it tastes. No joke. Second, each serving has 13 to 14 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. That's really impressive for cereal. So yeah, it's perfect for the way that I'm trying to eat right now. But guess what? Magic Spoon does more than cereal. They've got these really great treat bars that I'm actually out of at the moment. I ate all of the ones that I had. Actually, my kids and wife ate most of them, but that's okay. I've got more coming next week. They're a really nice on-the-go option. 11 to 12 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, only 1 to 2 grams of net carbs. But here's the thing that I'm most excited about. Magic Spoon is doing granola now. My favorite cereals are the ones with like nuts and seeds. I just really like the crunch and the heartiness. And I was so excited that they had granola that I had to just order a bunch. It'll be here Tuesday. With the granola, we're talking 13 grams of protein, 0 added sugar. It's packed with sunflower seeds, cashews, and the flavors look awesome. Honey almond, peanut butter, mixed berry. I have a feeling that the granola is going to replace like maple waffle flavor cereal as my new favorite Magic Spoon product. So I will be sure to report back to you when I've had some to let you know what I think. So anyways, do yourself a favor and give them a try. Go to magicspoon.com/d4 or scan the QR code up here if you would, so they know I sent you. And don't forget, they offer a 100% happiness guarantee. If you order online, you don't like it, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So what do you have to lose? Nothing. That's what. Oh, and don't forget to use the code D4 at checkout to save $5 off your order. Big thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring the video and for filling my belly with happiness right now. So let's get back to the beasts. All right, one note here first. Let me give a little shout out to Wizards of the Coast for the organization on this book. I really appreciate how in the back in Appendix B, you can see monsters sorted in all different kinds of ways. By type, beast in our case, but also by challenge rating, even by habitat. Even better for us, Appendix A is its own sort of separate section that has all of the beasts in the game in alphabetical order with their stat blocks, great art, etc. So for Moon Druids, just turn to page 348 and get all of the beasts in the book in one convenient location. It makes it really nice. I really wish that I could show you all of these things, but unfortunately, even though the embargo for the Monster Manual has dropped, I'm still not allowed to show you like pictures of my advanced watermarked copy. So you're just gonna have to trust me when I tell you what we are seeing in the book, and hopefully you'll be able to see for yourself before too long. All right, starting us off at challenge rating 1/4 and below. When Druids first get access to Wild Shape, this is the highest CR of beast they can Wild Shape into, even Moon Druids, since they don't get their subclass till level 3, right? So let's take a look at what I think your best options are gonna be here. First up, the best damage dealer. You might not think that it's particularly advisable to use Wild Shape for combat purposes as a level 2 or like non-Moon Druid. Wild Shape is for utility, right? Or so the common saying often goes, but I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate. Sure, being able to use Wild Shape to stealthily infiltrate or get to a place you couldn't otherwise get to is important and useful, but some of the beast options that we get, even at 1/4 challenge rating, are pretty decent in combat, especially in the very early game. If we were just looking at the option that would give us the most damage possible, I think the Giant Venomous Snake is the frontrunner at this CR. They have an impressive 40-foot speed and a bonus utility, a swim speed 2, as well as blind sight out to 10 feet, which is fantastic, but then they have a whopping +6 to hit. Better than any other beast at this challenge rating, better even than like some CR 1 and 2 and even 3 beasts for that matter. If we hit, we do 1d4 plus 4 piercing damage and another d8 of poison damage for 10.5 damage on average. That's a lot better than you'll get from like a Druid cantrip, plus you'll get the temporary hit points from being wild shaped. Oh, and they even have reach, so you can attack from 10 feet away. I think if I could only pick one beast to wild shape into at level 2, it'd probably be this one. Fortunately, we get to choose 4 beasts, so let's talk about some like honorable mentions and utility backup options. The giant wolf spider is a pretty good damage dealer themselves. They have a +5 to hit, not bad for a 1/4 CR, and do a d4 plus 3 piercing damage, but then another 2d4 of poison damage for, again, an average of 10.5 damage on a hit, though with a slightly lower hit chance compared to the giant venomous snake. Giant wolf spiders do have some nice potential utility, though, in the form of spider climb, which lets you climb even on ceilings without needing an ability check. Oh, and don't forget, they have blind sight out to 10 feet as well. A great choice, especially if you need to take advantage of climbing up walls or ceilings. One of my favorite options at this level is the giant centipede. They only have a +4 to hit for only a d4 plus 2 damage, but if you hit, your target is automatically poisoned until your next turn, where you could just continue to repeat, right? And keep them poisoned permanently. And poison is a pretty nice debuff to put on an enemy, giving them disadvantage on all of their attacks and ability checks. Oftentimes, that is going to be better for your party than a little more damage would be. The last one I'll mention, and I think the fourth one that I would pick personally at this CR, is the giant frog. This one's just fun. First, they bring some nice utility in that they can have a swim speed and can breathe underwater, plus can jump really far. What's more, they have an admittedly mediocre bite attack. It's +4 to hit for 1d6 plus 2 damage, but if the creature that you bite is medium or smaller, they are automatically grappled. No saving throw. Now, on the enemy's turn, they can try to escape, and the escape DC is admittedly pretty low, only a DC 11. But if they fail, then on your next turn, you can just swallow them. There's no check here, you just swallow them with your action. They don't get to save against it. And when the enemy is swallowed, they are blinded and restrained and take an additional 2d4 acid damage on our next turn. There are some drawbacks to this. The target has to be small or smaller, so that's kind of a bummer, not a lot of potential targets. And if we've swallowed someone, they have total cover against attacks and other effects. Also, we spit them back out at the end of our turn if the acid damage didn't kill them. They exit prone and probably covered in goo. Gross. What I love is that if the acid damage does kill the target, then I guess they're just digested. And at that point, I guess we're free to swallow someone else. Once we lose wild shape, we're gonna have some serious indigestion, methinks. I'm also assuming that if we get knocked unconscious or become incapacitated, which remember breaks wild shape now, then the enemy will be disgorged as well. Could lead to some really fun shenanigans against the right enemies, for sure. Okay, those are my favorites for CR 1/4. What about challenge rating 1/2? That non-moon druids would be able to use starting at level 4. If we're looking at pure damage, then I think the frontrunner has got to be our old favorite Find Steed option, the Warhorse. They have a +6 to hit as well. Very nice for the CR, and do 2d4 plus 4 damage if they hit, but then while they only get one attack, if they move 20 feet in a straight line before hitting, and they've got a whopping 60 feet of move speed, so they should be able to make this work, though admittedly you might risk taking an opportunity attack if you need to back up first, so use with caution. But if you can do this, and the enemy is large or smaller, then they take an extra 2d4 damage and are automatically knocked prone, no saving throw. This kind of charge attack is something that we're going to see quite a bit of when we're looking at potential beast options today. Anyways, this is a total of 14 damage on average if everything lands. Plus, you can make a really nice mount for one of your allies potentially, as long as, you don't let your ego get in the way. There are some great other beasts to consider at this challenge rating as well, though. First up, the crocodile. They're great swimmers, they can hold their breath for up to an hour, and then they function similarly to the giant frog, not in the swallow thing, but in that they automatically grapple on a hit. Again, another thing that we're going to see quite a bit of today. Crocodiles have a +4 to hit, not amazing, but if they do hit, we'll do a 1d8 plus 2 damage, and then if the target is again medium or smaller, they're not only auto-grappled, but they're restrained now, which is much more powerful, meaning that they can't move, yes, but then attacks against them have advantage, their attacks are made with disadvantage, and they even have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. The escape DC here is only a 12, but it's a little better than the giant frog at least, and restrained is awesome. I think I would consider the ape here too. I think they're the only CR 1/2 beast with multi-attack. With a +5 to hit for 1d4 plus 3 damage each attack, that's 11 damage on average, and while that's less than the Warhorse's total potential, it's more than the Warhorse if you can't get that 20 feet charge move in first. Plus, apes have a ranged attack option. They can throw a rock 25 feet, or 50 with disadvantage, and it's a +5 to hit for 2d6 plus 3 damage, or 10 on average. It recharges on a 6, right? It's similar to like a dragon's breath, so you gotta roll a d6 at the beginning of your turn and get a 6 if you want to try to do the rock throw thing again. But hey, it's a decent little ranged option if you need one. Finally, I think I'm going to give a nod here to surprising, probably most of you, it definitely surprised me, the giant seahorse. Yeah, seahorse. If you're going to be fighting underwater, which I know doesn't happen a ton, this one is really cool. It's similar to the Warhorse. If they move 20 feet in a straight line before attacking, they can do extra damage. They do 2d8 plus 2 for 11 damage on average. More damage than the crocodile if you're going to be underwater anyways. Though without that nice auto grapple and restrain. So, They do have a cool bonus action though that lets you essentially disengage and move half your speed. So that's cool. And surely you could serve as an underwater mount for one of your companions if you were a giant seahorse, right? Let's go, Aquaman! Okay, now it's time for the real meat, the CR1 beasts. But first, I need to give a quick shout out to my channel members. You guys are the best. I could not do this without you. I am so grateful for your support. Thank you. If you're not a member of the channel, I'd love it if you'd consider joining. There's a little button down there, it says join. You click on it and you'll see all the benefits that you can get by becoming a member. I give all member benefits to any member who signs up at like the silver level or above, and just ask that if you want to be a member that you pay what you feel like you can and what you feel like it's worth. But you get access to the library of write-ups that I do for all my builds so that you can more easily recreate them yourself. access to the community Discord server, and even access to our live monthly Q&A hangout sessions that we do. We have a lot of fun together. I'd love to have you as a member, but if you can't or don't want to, that's fine. I appreciate you just being here, watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, all of those things. Okay, that out of the way, any druid can wild shape into CR1 beasts at level 8, but of course, moon druids can do it at level 3. And, it's the thing that gives them a lot of power compared to other players at the same level. To be fair, in the past, I think it's safe to say that moon druids at level 2, when they used to get their subclass, right, were a little overpowered. And that's basically because of the brown bear. So is the brown bear still the S tier CR1 beast that it used to be? Well, it's still very good, but I think we've got a new frontrunner for damage at this level, and it is the, wait for it, lion. That's right. As anyone who ever watched The Jungle Book growing up knows, bears are no match for a big cat. Okay, fine. Shere Khan was actually a tiger, and I think in the real world, the tiger probably beats a lion. But anyways, lions got a nice glow up for 2024. We actually saw them in the new player's handbook, and they haven't changed for the monster manual. And they're really good. They have multi-attack now, letting them make 2 attacks with a +5 to hit for a d8 +3 damage each. Better yet, they have pack tactics, which means you should have a pretty easy time getting advantage on your attacks as long as your target is within 5 feet of one of your allies, right? They get a nice little running leap feature for a big long jump and can even roar if they want to forego just one of their attacks, and I love that. Does this mean we're like a Gish beast? Not really, but kinda. Anyways, roar causes one target within 15 feet to be frightened until our next turn if they fail an admittedly low DC 11 wisdom save, but hey, it's wisdom, so decent chance of, succeeding for us there, depending on what you're fighting. Anyways, yeah, I think the lion is now, well, king of the jungle, as it were, for CR1 beasts. Brown bears are still good, but they did get nerfed. They're now a +5 to hit instead of +6, and their bite attack in particular does way less damage, though it does knock the enemy prone if they hit. But you know what I find maybe most interesting with all of this? The CR1/2 Warhorse is almost a better damage dealer, actually, if you can get that 20 feet in a straight line charge off at least. The total damage is potentially slightly less on average, 14 compared to the lion's 15, but the Warhorse has a higher hit chance. Of course, the lion has pack tactics, so in most scenarios, it's still probably the better damage option, but it's close. And yeah, overall, the buffed lion is still worse than the 2014 brown bear damage-wise, but I don't think that's a terrible thing. It's still solid damage, it's just not as overpowered when moon druids first get their subclass as, it used to be. And the higher CR beasts got buffed on average, so we're gonna be okay. And our scaling is a lot better than it used to be, and smoother for that matter. All right, what about the other good options at CR1? There are several. The giant octopus is amazing, for example. They're fast swimmers, but do have a little land speed. They breathe underwater, but can hold their breath outside of water for an hour, so it can be a viable land option as long as you don't have to move too much. Maybe you could get a mount for your octopus. Stick your octopus on a warhorse. That is going to be both effective and terrifying. So the octopus is a +5 to hit with a 10-foot reach, thankfully, and then does 2d6 +3 damage, but auto grapples and restrains medium or smaller creatures with an even better than before escape DC of 13 now. So it's a bit of an upgrade to the crocodile, I suppose, though with, much less move speed. Oh, they also have a fun ink cloud ability they can use once per day when you're underwater to get away and heavily obscure an area, which is cool. Then we've got the giant spider, an upgrade strangely over the giant wolf spider. That feels odd to me. A giant wolf spider seems a lot worse than just a regular giant spider, but oh well. Giant spiders have a nice +5 to hit for 1d8 +3 piercing damage plus 2d6 poison damage for a total of 14.5 damage on average. That's nice. Almost as good as the lion, though without pack tactics. But then not only do they have spider climb, but they even have a recharge on a 5 or 6 web ability that can restrain an enemy from 60 feet away if they fail their dexterity save of 13 against it. And they don't get to save again once they're caught in that web. They just have to destroy the web, which admittedly isn't super hard to do, but hey, it'll probably at least take up their action. Finally then, for CR1 beasts, I've got to go with the giant toad. It's basically an upgrade to the giant frog with more damage on its bite, an extra 2d4 of poison damage. The auto grapple on a hit has a slightly higher escape DC of 12. They can still swallow, but it's a medium or smaller creature, which is going to be, a lot more likely to pull off, right? And then a little more acid damage against a swallowed target. It's 3d6. Here's an interesting thing. The verbiage here for the giant toad is a little different than the frog in that we are specifically told that we can't use bite while we have a swallowed target. The frog description says we can't use bite while swallowing the target, which reads like you just can't bite at the same time that you're trying to swallow someone. But I'm guessing that the intent there was to copy the way that the giant toads is written and say, like, you can't bite once you've got someone swallowed. Anyways, you don't automatically regurgitate the swallowed enemy if they don't die from the acid damage at the end of your turn with the giant toad, so that's cool. They just keep taking that acid damage every round while I guess you take the help action maybe, since you can't bite someone if you've got someone swallowed. Anyways, it's still potent, good control, decent damage, lots of potential fun with the giant toad for sure. Okay. Let's move on to CR2 beasts, which Moon Druids can get at level 6. It used to be that the cave or polar bear was again the front runner here. Generally, I think WotC just really liked bears back in 2014. But yeah, I don't think that's the case anymore. And I'm kind of glad to see it, since the difference between the brown bear and the polar bear in 2014 was very small, actually, and just made it feel like barely an upgrade. Now, I think the new best damage dealer for CR2 beasts is a dinosaur. That's right, the Allosaurus. So, one important thing we have to discuss. The 2014 wild shape rules stated that you could only wild shape into a beast that you have seen before, meaning dinosaurs tended to be out unless you were like playing Tomb of Annihilation or something, right? Or just had a really generous DM who let you write some crazy elaborate backstory that somehow allowed you to time travel or go to strange places where dinosaurs existed. So now, as long as your DM still allows it, I suppose, and I mean, come on, why wouldn't they? Dinosaurs are viable options for everyone, even if you didn't create some fantastical Fred Flintstone-esque backstory. Fantastic. The Allosaurus is, as so many paleontologists have said, the T-Rex's younger brother. I don't know if any paleontologist has said that, but alas, T-Rexes are CR8, so while they might work as a polymorph potential, no luck for wild shape, right? But that's okay. Because as a certified younger brother myself, I can say without bias that younger brothers are way cooler anyways. Okay, these dinosaurs have a +6 to hit, and as we're seeing often here, if they move 30 plus feet towards a target, no worries, we've got 60 feet of move speed here, we can claw them with our first attack, knock them prone automatically, and then have advantage, right, because they're prone, on a free bite attack that hits a lot harder. Altogether, this combo would do 23.5 damage if everything landed. Now, I feel like I've got to say, some of you familiar with the old Allosaurus might be thinking, that feels like pretty much the same thing. The old Allosaurus could also charge or pounce, knock prone, and get 2 attacks. But the huge difference now that's hard to overstate is that the enemy no longer gets a saving throw against being knocked prone. It used to be a DC 13 strength save to avoid being knocked prone, not that hard to make. Now you just have to charge and hit with your claws. They're automatically knocked prone, and then you can take a bite attack with advantage. It's a massive improvement. All of that said, I think the best damage dealer award is actually kind of a tie here at CR2 between the Allosaurus and, surprisingly actually, the Rhinoceros. They function very similarly, with the Rhino getting not an extra attack, but just bonus damage if they can get that charge thing off. And again, no save for the enemy on being knocked prone now, so it's a nice buff. Now, Rhinos have a better hit chance, it's +7, but they only make the one big attack for potentially 4d8 plus 5 damage, or 23 on average. A teeny bit less than the Allosaurus, but with a better hit chance. Then again, most of the Allosaurus's damage is coming from bite, and you'd probably have advantage on that bite if the enemy's prone, so I think it's slight advantage Allosaurus, but it's very close. Depends on the enemy AC, depends on if you have another way of getting advantage on your attack, etc. Also, I should say that the knocking prone and bonus damage for both of these beasts only works on large creatures or smaller. So, if you're fighting a huge enemy, consider getting the giant elk as a backup. They function very similarly. The elk does slightly less damage with a slightly lower hit chance than the rhino, but can prone a huge creature instead of just a large one. Okay, there are some other fantastic non-charge options at CR2 as well though. The polar bear is still okay with their +7 to hit and multi-attack for just a d8 +5 damage each. That's definitely a nerf compared to the 2014 polar bear. So I think if we're looking for something just a little more straightforward, the saber-toothed tiger is a little better. Slightly lower hit chance than that polar bear, only a +6, but each of their 2 attacks does 2d6 +4 damage, and they also get some fun utility with a running leap and a mini cunning action, letting them disengage or hide as a bonus action, plus saber-toothed tiger. Super cool. I should probably say though, thanks to pack tactics, if you can't do the charge thing, depending on the enemy AC, right, that lion might actually be the better choice when compared to the saber-toothed tiger, depending on, if you can get advantage with that saber-toothed tiger otherwise somehow, because one of your allies is doing something to give you advantage. Finally, at CR2, we gotta shout out the giant constrictor snake. With a swim speed and blind sight, they are bringing some nice utility, but then on their turn, they get to both bite at a +6 to hit for 2d6 +4 damage, but then also try to constrict or grapple a target. You used to have to choose one or the other, right? Do you want to bite or do you want to constrict with your action? Now you can do both as a multi-attack. The DC to save against that constrict got lowered, but still, the fact that you can do it and still make a bite attack every round is a huge improvement. With constrict, the target makes a strength save against our DC 14. They have to be large or smaller, and if they fail, they are both grappled and take 2d8 +4 damage. So if everything works here, we would do 24 damage per round on average, and that's actually more than anything else we've looked at this challenge rating, plus the enemy would be grappled. The only reason I didn't consider them like the best damage dealer is that I think we're a lot more likely to hit most enemies at this level with just beast attacks than we are to assume that they'll fail a DC 14 strength save. But I could be wrong. Depends on what you're fighting, right? I definitely take the giant constrictor snake as an option here, for sure. If you're fighting enemies that you think have a low strength save, it's easily the best option. Okay, let's move on to challenge rating 3 beasts. I think the obvious go-to used to be the giant scorpion at this challenge rating, but in 2024, it's actually still the giant scorpion. Though it's not without its issues. I mean, the giant scorpion did get buffed for 2024, slightly, but they also got a little nerf. And I think I would have preferred that WotC just straight up buff, especially these higher CR beasts across the board. Not just for druids, but to increase the challenge for players fighting these beasts, right? As is, we're getting a +1 to our hit chance and a +1 to our grapple DC compared to 2014, and that's not nothing. We still get to make 3 attacks that can potentially auto-grapple 2 targets, right? 1 with each claw, and altogether we do an average of 31.5 damage if everything landed. But there's the nerf. That sting attack used to be twice as much poison damage, but then they'd take half on a save. Now it's just half the damage. And hey, 1 less die roll to make during combat, I get it. And we did get a buff to our hit chance and to our grapple DC, but I mean, the Warhorse is a CR 1/2 beast. It has a +6 to hit. Any druid could take Warhorse as an option at level 4. Here now, as a moon druid at level 9, we can wild shape into a challenge rating 3 beast with a smaller hit chance, +5 to hit. I get it, there's more to a creature's power than their hit chance. I just don't understand why the hit chance on beasts seems to scale worse than just about anything else, especially considering the enemies are going to be getting increasingly higher armor classes as we gain levels, right? Here's hoping that your DM lets you get a magic item to increase your beast's hit chance. Anyways, yes, I think the giant scorpion is still great. I just wish it were a little bit greater. I mean, depending on the enemy AC, your average damage will actually be better with the Allosaurus or the Rhino than it would be with the giant scorpion. And that just kind of bums me out. As far as what else to consider at CR3, I guess we need to talk about flying beasts, right? Since we couldn't take them until level 8, even if we were a moon druid. I think our 2 best options for flying creatures are the giant eagle. They make 2 attacks that do 9 damage each for 18 total, or the giant vulture. Vultures only get 1 attack for 9 damage on average, with a lower hit chance actually, but they do have pack tactics and they automatically poison their target, so it's worth considering. Okay, what about the best swimmer at CR3? I think it's the killer whale. They can only hold their breath for 30 minutes, but assuming that's enough, if you're fighting in water, they hit pretty hard. +6 to hit for 5d6 plus 4 damage. Not bad. Not crazy, but not bad. In the end, I'm going to say challenge rating 3 feels like maybe the biggest letdown of all the challenge ratings to me. So let's move on to CR4 and leave our woes behind, shall we? The original Monster Manual had 1 CR4 beast. 1. Well, now we have 200% more CR4 beasts. Woohoo! Because yeah, we got 3. But yeah, perhaps somewhat boringly, I think the elephant is still the best one. But it got massively buffed. They are still a +8 to hit, but now they have multi-attack, meaning 2 gore attacks for 2d8 plus 6 damage each, and if the enemy is huge, yes, huge or smaller, and you move 20 feet in a straight line towards them before attacking, they are automatically knocked prone if you hit with one of those gore attacks, so your second attack can be with advantage. But wait, there's more, because we now get a bonus action trample that we can use against a prone enemy that's within 5 feet of us. Perfect. It's a DC 16 dexterity save against that trample for 2d6 plus 6 damage, and they still take half damage even if they succeed on their save, unless they have evasion, I guess. All right, now we're talking. That is a total of 4d8 plus 2d10 plus 18 damage potentially for an average of 47 damage. Very nice. Go elephants. We also have the Archelon, which is a dinosaur turtle if you need a swimmer. That's amphibious and has a decent multi-attack, 29 total damage on average, potentially. And then there's the hippopotamus as well, which can also swim, but can only hold its breath for 10 minutes. It does hit harder than that Archelon, but not as hard as the elephant. So if you only need to swim for a little bit, but you still need to swim, the hippo's the way to go. If you're going to be underwater for longer than that, then yeah, the Archelon is going to be your best bet. Okay. What about CR5 beasts for moon druids who make it all the way to level 15? Well, I think the biggest damage dealer is another dinosaur, the Triceratops, but it might not necessarily be the most powerful overall. The Triceratops got a minor upgrade over the 2014 version, not quite elephant level, but they still have a +9 to hit, which is great. But now they don't have gore and stomp, they just have gore. But they get to make 2 gore attacks on their turn, and if they move 20 feet towards the enemy before the attack, the target takes extra damage and they're automatically knocked prone. Now, if you had the move speed, you could actually do this charge thing with each of your attacks, right? We get 2 gore attacks. Unfortunately, with 50 feet of move speed, which is a lot, we wouldn't be able to charge 20 feet, hit them, knock them prone, right? Back up 20 feet, and then charge 20 feet again, yeah? Which means that the total potential damage here then is almost the same as the old Triceratops. To be fair, the 2014 Triceratops gave their enemy a strength save of only a DC 13 to be knocked prone if they charged, and it could then only do the stomp thing for more damage if the enemy failed that fairly easy saving throw. So in practice, I think we'll get a lot more damage out of this new version of the Triceratops. I just wish we had the move speed to potentially charge twice. And I mean, most moon druids probably weren't transforming into Triceratops anyways, I guess, in 2014, because you used to have to see the beast before you could transform into it. And, hey, you could put the Long Strider spell on yourself before wild shaping. It lasts an hour, doesn't require concentration. Put it on yourself before your wild shape to increase your move speed by 10 feet, and now you've got 60 feet of move speed. You could potentially make that charge a couple times. Without that, the total potential damage for the Triceratops here would be the same as the elephants, 47, though with a little bit better hit chance, so it's not nothing. But the better option at this challenge rating might be the giant crocodile. But sadly, they kind of got nerfed for the new Monster Manual. I know. It's kind of weird. They still have a +8 to hit and make a bite and tail attack, but the bite damage is the same. They still auto-grapple the target if they hit, but the escape DC got lowered for some reason. It went from a 16 to a 15, and it now has the large or smaller size restriction that wasn't there before. The enemy's still restrained, but now also the grappled enemy expressly cannot be targeted by your tail attack, right? They get a bite attack and a tail attack, and that wasn't there before. So altogether, it kind of bums me out. Now, the tail attack did get buffed. It does an extra D8 of damage and automatically knocks the enemy prone, but it also has a size restriction of large or smaller that wasn't there before. So I guess you'd say that the giant crocodile got both buffed and nerfed, but I might have preferred the old version, if I'm being honest. Still, auto-grappling one target, at least for one round, and auto-proning another is not bad. It just kind of makes me feel like they weren't thinking of high-level moon druids here as much as I had hoped they would. Regardless, it is 49 total damage on average potentially, you just have to do it against 2 different targets. And that might not be ideal depending on the situation. For a dedicated swimmer, you might want to consider the giant shark here. The crocodile can swim and gets more total damage, but the shark can swim faster and can make both of their attacks against the same enemy, right? With a higher hit chance too, for 45 total potential damage. There's no auto-proning or auto-restraining though, so yeah, the crocodile is probably better in most situations, unless you're blinded, because sharks do have blind sight out to 60 feet, which is amazing. Finally, then, we have arrived at the pinnacle for wild shape. Challenge rating 6 beasts. In 2014, we only had one option, and now we have double that. 2. But again, the mammoth got a really nice buff akin to their younger brother, the elephant. What's with all the younger brother talk today? Anyways, basically the same thing here. They can now make 2 gore attacks but have a plus 10 to hit for 2d10 plus 7 damage each, and if they charged the enemy before hitting, they can auto-prone them, and then we get a bonus action trample, just like the elephant, which is a dexterity save with an 18 DC. That's nice. That does 4d10 plus 7 damage, half on a save. So yeah, the mammoth is still at the top of the wild shape pack, but it's better than ever, doing a total of 65 average damage if everything sticks. Very, very nice. But we also got a sweet second option here at CR6 in the giant squid. They have a massive 80-foot swim speed, and they can only breathe underwater, but a 5-foot land speed with a 15-foot reach on their tentacles. And hey, you can hold your breath for quite some time before you start suffering any negative consequences, right? You're gonna at least be good for one combat encounter if you really wanted to use this giant squid. But yeah, giant squids have a plus 9 to hit and a 15-foot reach tentacle attack that does 3d8 plus 6 damage, and both auto-grapples the enemy with an escape DC of 16, but also pulls them 10 feet towards yourself if the enemy is huge or smaller, so that you can bite them on the same turn, and the bite hurts. Plus 9 to hit for 4d10 plus 6 damage. That's pretty nice. It's overall less potential damage than the mammoth, but the auto grapple is really nice if you can kind of just mostly sit still in a fight, assuming you're on land, right? And just like pull the enemies towards you. Maybe if you're fighting in a small room, maybe if you rolled kind of low on your initiative and you've got, 2 or 3 enemies that are within 15 feet of you by the time it's your turn, give it a try. It'd be really fun and funny actually too. Big old squid just in the middle of the room. All right. After having gone through this exercise now and scoured this new monster manual and compared and contrasted the beasts at different challenge ratings, I have some concluding final thoughts. First up, generally speaking, similar to what we're seeing with the new monster manual in general, the beasts largely got buffed. That's great. It's great both to increase the difficulty for players who have to fight them, and it's great for those of us who spend a lot of their time transformed into one. I am, admittedly, a little dismayed that some of them didn't get buffed as much as I would have liked. The giant scorpion is kind of the standout here for me, and I especially think they could have done a better job of scaling hit chance, as I've mentioned. Maybe especially at challenge ratings 2 and 3. But generally, yes, the beasts saw improvement. I also was, if I'm being honest, hoping to see even more beast options at those higher challenge ratings. Compared to the 2014 Player's Handbook, we got a few more higher CR beasts, but I was really hoping for a lot more. And that feels like a missed opportunity. Maybe it's not a huge deal since so few of us actually play the game beyond level 11 or 12 or so, but frankly, I'd love to see that change too and have high level play be more encouraged and more common. So yeah, don't take the CR4 options from 1 to 3, take it from 1 to 7 or 8, right? Am I upset that wild shaping into a challenge rating 1 beast is less powerful now than it used to be? The brown bear could do almost 20 damage on a round on average in the 2014 rules. The best damage dealer at CR1, the lion, is about 15 by comparison. That's a huge drop off, right? But no, actually, I'm not upset by that. I think being a 2014 brown bear at level 2 was too strong, and it wasn't great for the game. But now, being a 2024 lion at level 3, that feels a little more appropriate. It's still solid, and you get other benefits from wild shape outside of just damage, right? Temporary hit points, more likely some better ability scores, in the lion's case, that awesome leap. Better yet, they nerfed CR1 but buffed CR2 and up, generally, meaning that Moon Druid's wild shape options actually feel like they scale a little bit better now. I think they could have gone little further with that scaling, I do, but it's better than it used to be at least, and that's worth noting. In the end, I can't wait to play with these new wild shape options, especially at the higher levels, right? Once we get to CR4 and above, I think it's gonna feel like a pretty massive improvement. And now I feel like I can finally do a thorough Moon Druid build, so watch for that in the near future. I love you guys. Thanks for all that you do for me, for the channel. It really means the world to me. I hope you have a fantastic day and a great week. And if you don't, please hang in there. You've got this. I believe in you. I do. I hope that you will stay safe and do good and be kind. And that I see you again very soon. Until then, take care. Johnny's out cruising down the fast food strip. He rides a high-wheeler Ford. He's down here every evening since the school let out. An ordinary man would be bored. But Johnny's got the hunger of a high school heart and a tank full of minimum wage. So it's 6 lights down and 6 lights back, pacing like a lion in a cage. He's running on a tether, tearing at the ground, trying to find a way to break the chain. Well, this howling in the distance is a captivating sound. Can't tell if it's ecstasy or pain. Saturday they'll all be back again. That was a little long. Thanks for indulging me, for those who are still watching. That song is another David Wilcox song. I sung one last week, I think. But that's called Saturday They'll All Be Back Again. And it was my son Knox's favorite song that I would sing to him when I'd put him to bed when he was really little. And he used to call it Johnny's song because it was about a high school kid named Johnny. And now my son is in high school and he's going to be graduating this year, and I'm having all kinds of nostalgia and all of those where has the time gone kind of feelings. So I was just feeling that song today. So hope you enjoyed that, buddy. While you're editing, you're probably rolling your eyes and feeling slightly embarrassed, but that's okay. You've embarrassed me plenty of times in these outtakes. Man. This is the cold that will not end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend. And if we've swallowed, it's like an extra marshmallowy s'more.